church is the only institution that buries its wounded. This deadly statement was made by my mentor, the late Michael Sundaram. He, a Hindu Brahmin convert, said that the only persecution he faced was from within the church and not from anybody else. While there is a real threat of persecution of Christians in our country, we sometimes forget the persecution that we face from our own people. What a statement, but so true today. Let me explain. We have a great many soldiers of Christ wounded in battle, in spiritual battle. They fall wounded and are bleeding on the roadside. At least the priest and the Levite in the Good Samaritan parable crossed the road and walked away. But today's so-called Christians kick this fallen soldier who is bleeding profusely in the stomach. How did this insensitivity come about? These are people who go to church and lead a pious life. When they see a fallen child of God who has, for example, stopped attending church, let's say, they are filled with righteous anger and they lash out at these fallen children. If only they had taken a moment of their time and thought about what happened to this once very active child of God, they would have lifted him up, they would have taken him home, they would have stopped the bleeding, they would have applied balm on his wounds and kept a constant vigil on him till he fully recovered. Think about it. When a child of God is wounded in spiritual battle, what does he do? He is on the ground bleeding and writhing in pain. But what do you say? Why is this fellow not coming to church? Why has he stopped coming for Bible study? Why is he not coming for prayer meetings? Oh, he must be in deep sin. This is the interpretation of a person who did not have the time or the decency to go and find out what happened to this child of God before drawing such ugly conclusions from absolutely zero information. Ever wondered about what your cruel words and accusations can do to a fallen soldier who is already in deep pain and anguish? You are driving a red-hot spear into his wounds and twisting it about. In simple terms, you are adding salt to his wounds. You are killing a dying person. In other words, you are burying the wounded. There was a time when the church thought it was doing God's will by killing the so-called heretics. Entire communities such as the Cathars, the Albigensians, Waldenses and so on were slaughtered, millions of them, because they dared to defy the church. So, who in the Good Samaritan parable are you? You may be the wounded man in the parable. If so, do not underestimate the hurt and the trauma that you are going through. First, get out of the toxic environment where you got hurt. Next, seek the support of warm, caring children of God. Establish a strong time of prayer. Get closer to God. You may know someone who got wounded. If you know someone who got hurt, please be there for him. You may not understand why he is not coming to church, why he is now taken to drinking, but please refrain from abusing him or spreading false rumors about him. That would be like kicking him when he is down. And this is worse than being that priest or the Levite in the parable who just walked away. You need to be there for the child of God who is suffering. A phone call, a short visit, some words of encouragement would be like balm on his wounds. Better still, if you can pray for him and let him know that you are there for him, then you will be like the Good Samaritan in the parable. Or you may be the one who wounded him in the first place. If so, you are like the robbers in the parable. Please check your spiritual life. There is a strong possibility that you are not a child of God at all. This is a serious situation. You may be deceived into fooling yourself that you are going to heaven while you are on the road to hell. Hurting one of God's children is like hurting God himself. If you are in a church which is hurting and wounding God's precious children, you are in the wrong place. Speak out against such atrocities. Stand up for the ones who are wounded. This church just does not bury its wounded, but also shoots its own soldiers. Think about it. Who shoots a fellow soldier? Would a child of God do such a thing? It's time you got out. In conclusion, I cannot understand why even born again Christians sometimes kick a fallen child of God in the stomach. Please support these fallen soldiers. Be there for them. Pray for their healing. Don't walk away as the priest and the Levite did. And please don't kick him when he is down. That is burying